we all have a to-do list. There's lots of stuff on it. You got to get your dry cleaning. You got to get your milk. Here's an idea. Save hundreds of dollars on car insurance on your to-do list. And the good thing is you don't have to drop off or pick up anything. All you have to do is go to geico.com. In 15 minutes, you could be saving 15% or more on car insurance, extra money in your pocket. It may be the most rewarding thing you do today.
Now, Podcast One brings you Spike's Car Radio, a downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast, Spike Ferriston.
This guy is such an icon, such a hero to so many people.
And Shelby rides again. The tall man from Texas is in the saddle.
Carroll Shelby pushes his Ferrari and is showing the way.
He won, and he won, and he won.
And at the finish, it's Carroll Shelby blazing past.
As a driver, Shelby was considered one of the best to ever compete.
He wins Le Mans, and he's dying.
They told me I had 5 years to live. I figured, so what? I might as well try to build a car that I dreamed of.
Carroll was the world's greatest salesman.
He could sell anything in the world.
I went to Ford and said, if you loan me $25,000, I'll build you a car that'll blow the Corvette off. It's all it'll cost you.
It was absolutely amazing that a group of guys from Venice, California could come down here and beat all those high-end manufacturers.
Ford had our first true competitor in the racing car business.
The Ferrari factory team, they'd been champions of the world forever.
When it came to Ferrari, Dad was never a big fan. Enzo wanted nothing to do with Shelby.
Carroll's goal was to beat Ferrari's ass. He wanted to show what Americans could do.
Henry Ford had given Shelby a business card that Henry had written on the back of it, "You better win."
These races are demanding beyond reason.
The pressure he was under, if he had lost, he was going to be in trouble.
The leaders are 3 Ferrari cars running 1, 2, 3.
Ken Miles. He was the ultimate long-distance racer.
Ken Miles wins Le Mans, it would be the Triple Crown. Stage is set for a war of speed. Ford-Ferrari rivalry, that is the golden age of racing.
It has been a great battle, a great fight.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. He's the king of streaming audio media. He is, we're here in his race-inspired secret bunker. I'm talking about Adam Carolla and Nate Adams, his producer. And these guys have a documentary called Shelby American. You may have seen it on the front screen of your Netflix when you open it up. Hi, guys.
Hi, Spike.
I watched it last night. By the way, I watched it twice.
Wow,
I watched it 3 weeks ago, not knowing who made it. Had it up and was watching it, go, this is great. And then when when I heard you coming on the show, I pressed the link and I realized this is the thing I watched and already loved. And here's what's great about this, you guys. By the way, happy Wednesday, everybody. If you, and I know you have, took your non-car-loving friends to see Ford v. Ferrari, and you enjoyed it like they did, but in your head you were going, now I want to take a deeper dive. Now I want to go into the real stuff. Shelby American scratches that itch. It really fills in all the holes, all the questions I had, right down to how many times was this guy married? So congratulations, guys.
Well, between 7 and 10, I guess.
Yeah.
Nobody ever could quite get
So, Nate, Adam, tell it. How did this thing begin, this labor of love that you've made?
Well, we had been working on the 24-Hour War, which is Ford v. Ferrari. It's another version of Ford v. Ferrari. Mm-hmm. So that's on Netflix as well, if you guys want to go look at that. And when we're making that, and Nate, you jump in, I screwed this up, but there was a big chunk in there of Shelby and the Daytona, Shelby Cobra Daytona, and how him and Pete Brock, or Brock, designed the Daytona. And it was central to the story because that's how Shelby got on the map with Ford. They took the Cobra, they put the body on it that had the aerodynamics. They took it international racing. They won their class at Le Mans. But what we're realizing is that in the middle of our Ford GT40 versus Ferrari P3 or 4, whatever movie, we had this big Shelby chunk with the Daytona, and it was getting a little confusing.
Right.
So at some point, I said we got to just take the whole chunk
it's interesting
out.
when I know you interviewed the guys in Mangold about the movie. They said the same thing in the scripts leading up to their script, that it's a very complex, thick story, and when they simplified it down to a friendship, that's when the movie made sense.
Right.
Yeah. Sound right? And Nate, by the way, so you're Adam's producer? You produce his for Chassis Media? Are you the guy that runs Chassis Media?
Yes, I run it, and then Adam and I produce and direct all of our content. The other thing we realized, so once we cut our massive, we always end up with like 4 or 5 hours for these docs, and then we whittle them down to 2 hours to 90 minutes to 2 hours. And in this one, what we realized is, when we'd interviewed Charlie Agapoo and Gordon Chance and all those guys, that worked in the Shelby shop, that their individual stories were also so fascinating. I mean, all these guys were, they were crew chiefs at Le Mans at 21 years old. You just can't even imagine someone doing that today.
Right.
And they started welding and working in shops and working on auto, just working on cars when they were 12 years old and learning how to weld and fabricate. And
I was mostly interested in this chicken farmer. Angle. What can you tell us about Carroll Shelby, the chicken farmer?
Well, I do like the story of his bib overalls and how that became his trademark because he was running late for a race and he was vaccinating his chickens and his by the way, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Jews probably not known for vaccinating poultry. Like that'd be a horror. I would be the worst chicken vaccinator ever. Like I can't even bait a hook with live bait. I start going, no, come on, it's weird. Right,
by the way, I didn't know Carroll Shelby was Jewish. That's just, that's just me living in Texas.
Let me just ask you, as a writer,
yes,
not as a car enthusiast.
Okay.
I was thinking the other day, do we need the word skimp and the word scrimp? I feel like it's redundant, and I'm now starting to think whittle and winnow. I don't feel like we need those.
You don't need both.
We don't need both. We can skimp or scrimp or winnow down or whittle down.
As a writer, I don't like to eliminate words. I like more. Yeah. I like more arrows.
Oh, they're your babies.
Yes, but I was thinking just on the way here that I could get rid of the new normal. I don't like the new normal.
Yeah, I don't need that either.
It implies that there was a normal.
Right.
And there's never a normal. The world is chaotic.
That's a good point.
Yeah. New normal's got to go away.
Okay, I'm going to write that down using your precious words. So we had this big chunk of Shelby. God, it was in the movie. I mean, it was like 20 minutes plus. And then we just took this big chunk out. And then it was sort of like, well, we have so much Shelby that our next doc just sort of had to be Shelby.
Right.
After a 24-hour war.
It's an inspiring story. There's so many funny moments. And one that stood out is that shot where Shelby's standing, I think at the racetrack. It might have been an airport, and he's wearing this crumpled cowboy hat that's kind of pushed up on the right
I think that's at the
airport. He was not good at line readings. I was actually talking to John Morton about that.
What's the story of the hat? What is this? Why was the hat like
weird?
That?
Yeah, it's like a weird.
It was a cowboy hat. It would look like a version,
but a stubby cowboy hat,
a Stetson, but it was. Like it had been crumpled on the left side.
Maybe he slept on that
I've
side.
studied that. It was like kind of felt. He was at LAX, and I think the wind was blowing in a little bit, and it was like going full flying nun.
It was stationary, and there was no wind.
I'm telling you, if you see the shot, you'll see that it's.
I'm going with passed out or fell asleep on that side.
In making this, now you guys have a unique perspective on Ford v Ferrari, which it's awards season now, and it's quite a story, and it's a very mainstream story. And I know, you interviewed the boys there. Were there things you thought when you saw the film that you thought, I wish they had not done that and had told a different story? Were there inaccuracies that bothered you?
I wasn't bothered by it, but I didn't kind of go in with my head on a swivel, sort of looking for trouble. feeling with movies is go in and enjoy them. Don't go in like a dog sniffing out backyard fruit at an airport. Like, what's going on in here? What's the meaning of this? Like, I was like, all right, they're going to take some artistic license.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a whole lot of Ken Miles with his wife and his son, and that's going to be a central, every movie, they make a movie about World War II, they have to just pick a love relationship in the middle of it, because they're like, what's the story?
Right.
And because it's way too broad, the race itself or just the actual overarching story. So they got to drill down on something. I was fine with it, and I just sat there like a passenger and went along for the ride. I didn't sit there like the guy who made 2 movies on
but
the
still,
subject.
there are things that may have just made you blink or, not that you're looking.
I'm like Adam. I went in and I thought, wow, this is a fantastic. I just let it be a movie, and it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a million holes in it historically, but I just went along with it. The only thing that there's a lot. The only thing that really rubbed me was when he told Phil Remington to go deal with the customers selling the car.
Yeah,
because you have the greatest fabricator in the world who would never talk to anyone about buying a car, and he's like, "Hey, Phil, go sell them that car."
I'm sorry. I do have a problem with something.
Okay.
I felt that the lack of diversity was problematic. I wanted to see women of color in positions of power.
Yes, okay.
Running Ferrari, running Ford.
What about this? Did that deal with Fiat and Ferrari when Ford has given them the offer and the guy goes running out of the building? Didn't that take a year? Wasn't that like a year-long process?
Yeah, the pictures of the scooter.
Yeah.
The guy in the scooter took the pictures, though. I want that guy delivering my next pizza because that guy's a crackerjack.
Yeah.
That guy in the 60s took pictures, developed the film, jumped on a Vespa, and crashed a Fiat cocktail party in 20 minutes.
He was at Gianni Agnelli's doorstep in 4 minutes.
And why wouldn't they let him in if he's there to see the guy whose party it is?
By the way,
it made me laugh.
I have a list that Nate knows. Anyone who knows me, they know I have a list of things I'd like to do. Like I would like to dive into a body of water with a knife in my mouth, and I'd like to have a cape removed from me on stage.
Yes.
I would now like to crash. No. I would like I'd like to host a cocktail party and have somebody crash it with important information. I start off by going, "What's the meaning of this?" And, my guests are upset, and then at some point it turns out it's very, Gordon Gekko-y, kind of really
He's
important.
got the photos
really
in an
important
8x10.
information, right?
The cape seems really easy for you. Next time you're performing stand-up, that seems simple. I do that for you. I've been Jerry's water boy. I've put the little glass of water on his stool before he performs.
I do that before every one of Adam's stand-ups I tape.
Yeah.
I'll be your cape guy.
I just did it last week. We did the second one. I just did it.
That would be a nice moment for you, I think. And who's going to see it?
I want, but see, the whole thing about the cape or the body of water or, having your hands registered in a county as weapons or being removed from a casino, you can't mock it up and do it. It needs to be done. You know what I mean? Like I legitimately need someone to remove my cape. I can't just put a sheet around my shoulder and then walk out into an empty arena and have someone remove it. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't. It seems like you go to a Hollywood costume shop. We get you an ermine cape today, and then you call me up, and I'll put it on you and take it off you.
That would defeat the point. I need what I'm saying is I don't want to stage a cocktail party and have some guy with an Italian accent throw his Vespa on the ground and run in. I need it to actually happen.
To happen organically.
I need to have an actual cocktail party, and somebody has to run in with information. And initially, I'm not happy.
This is great. I mean, this is so easy. This could be your next car purchase, and it could be Matt D'Andrea running in with the bid, going, "It's going to take this much money to get this."
But if I stage it, it's like a fake orgasm for a wife.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yes.
I need legitimacy.
Right. Well,
and I don't throw cocktail parties, so we're a long ways off.
Yeah. Your whole life seems like one continuous cocktail party with your mangria and everything else. And the other day I noticed you're posting all about your on Twitter, your home theater. There are multiple posts about like the carpet and the corners and the seat choice thread.
Well,
What is that? What was that?
Well, you know what I found to be weird or interesting, because I don't know how the internet works, but I was doing a home improvement Ace on the House podcast, and I was talking about thresholds and making a door threshold and whatever, and we just talked about it for a while. And it was the last piece that I put in this theater that I built at my house, and I thought, and I took a picture of it, like, hey, I custom milled this oak threshold, and symbolically, like, last piece of this theater puzzle done, and I threw it up, in the Insta post or whatever, the tweet, and I looked it up. I looked at it like when I got home from work, and it had 200,000 views.
Wow!
And I was like, I guess people like this stuff, like this woodworking stuff or this project stuff, because we put a car video up and it gets some clicks, but it doesn't get 200,000, in 7 hours. And so I went, oh, well, if the people like that, so then I took a picture of the theater and I threw it up, and I realized there's an appetite for this stuff.
There is, yes. Who's posting about building their own home theater? And then, by the way, that's why I noticed it. What is he doing? Look at that.
Yeah.
And we do like somebody who knows how to do something on the internet right now. We don't like to just follow people for following them. We like to know that there's a reason.
Adam is a guy who knows how to do things.
Yeah. And he's,
Yeah, well, I have a carpentry background.
Well,
but so it struck me that people enjoy that, or they respond to it, or they're interested in it. So I shall, because I'm building out a shop now to do the cars and blah, 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 and I shall take pictures and keep people
building
posted.
the car shop bigger. You already
different
have that
one.
shop.
Now we have a new one.
Building
he has
a nicer one.
Wow. And what does that mean? Define nicer from what you had.
I'm not allowed
before.
in there.
This
is a works.
Nice. It's first thing you kind of realize is ceiling height. You need some height if you really want to do a really nice presentation in a nice sort of car museum or shop or whatever it is. You need the height, and I don't know why, but if you walk in, if you walk into any hotel and the mezzanine has an 8-foot ceiling, it's a crap hotel, right? If you walk in and it's a cathedral, it's not that you use that space. You just walk in and go, oh, I like this place better. I don't know why we need that. You're 6 foot and everything past that is gravy, but you walk in and whatever the facility is, when you walk in and there's that big open feeling versus a lower ceiling, that's about 80% of it as I drill down and think about it.
I like that. So what is your perfect hangar height? What do you think?
Well, the perfect hangar height is just kind of enough to do 2 floors, but you don't do 2 floors. So you could. Also, my biggest problem in life is I'm a carpenter and I've built so many houses. And so people come in and they'll go, I'll talk to people and they'll go, oh yeah, my house has that. I have a 50-foot ceiling in and I go, it's not 50 feet. And they go, oh no, it's like 50 feet. And I go, no, it's like 19 feet. Yes. And they go, no, it's I go, it's 5 stories. 50 feet is 5 stories. Do you have a 5-story entry? And they go, oh, maybe it's less.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah. That's what I'm telling you the height of your ceiling and your entry.
I start
condescendingly
to obsess about what goes in that upper space. Like listening to you.
Thoughts.
Just thoughts? Nothing,
just
right?
Thoughts. Yeah.
No cloud paintings on the ceiling or frescoes.
Well, you can hang stuff. There's the guys who hang stuff up there. Right. You can get a double or triple stacker.
Yeah. Hey there, did you know that Valvoline is the only motor oil brand with a dedicated engine lab? You may be asking yourself, what exactly does that mean, Spike? Go ahead, say it out loud. There you go. Here's what it means. Their engineers and technicians run tests 24/7. We're talking thousands and thousands of miles on various engines. Then they take those engines apart piece by piece to evaluate exactly what happened. Carbon buildup? How did the seals hold up? Did the engine perform like it was supposed to? And most importantly, were the critical engine components protected? So when Valvoline is formulating motor oil for your engine, they know exactly how it performs and what protects it best, because they've seen the results firsthand, not last hand. These guys and girls are impressive. It's really who they are that make Valvoline Motor Oil what it is. They won't settle for being less than the best. Much like some of the racing greats that have been sponsored by Valvoline, there's so many iconic drivers that have carried the Valvoline name. Yeah, it's not just me, your friend Spike. I know you've seen me walk in the streets of Beverly Hills with my Valvoline shirt and proudly displaying a Valvoline sticker on my forehead. It's not just me. When you see the red, white, and blue car on the track, there's just something special about it. And who are those guys? Well, how about Mario Andretti? He won the 1978 Formula One championship with Valvoline. How about Mark Martin? He has 27 NASCAR wins with Valvoline and drove with it for 8 seasons. A.J. Foyt won both the Daytona 500 and Indy 500 running Valvoline, as well as the USAC championship. Darrell Waltrip, all 3 NASCAR championship wins with Valvoline under the hood. Joe Amato ran a Valvoline dragster during the 1992 season and won his 3rd consecutive NHRA Top Fuel championship. Who else? Jeff Gordon, first NASCAR championship running Valvoline. How about Cale Yarborough? Ran Valvoline Motor Oil when he won his 3rd straight NASCAR championship. Shirley Muldowney, the first lady of drag racing, earned her 2nd NHRA Top Fuel championship with Valvoline. The list goes on. And look at this. Jeff Zwart, our dear friend Jeff Zwart, won Pikes Peak in 1994 and 1995 with Valvoline. And finally, Al Unser Jr. sported a Valvoline livery for his very special 1992 Indy 500. Still marks the closest finish in Indy 500 history. There's a great video on TeamValvoline.com documenting this. Search Al Unser Jr. on the site, and you'll find it. You know, there's an old ad with some of these racers that says, people who know use Valvoline. It's so true. I know, and I use Valvoline. It's an American-owned and operated brand that's been trusted for 150 years. So head on over to Valvoline.com/Spike to see what product is right for you.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
You have a neat hangar presentation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unlike Leno, which is warehousey and buildy and workshopy, you're kind of in the middle, I would say, between the Peterson and a Leno, right? I like your setup a lot. There's museum spaces and then there's workspaces, but everything has a neatness to it. I'm very excited about this space.
I am too.
This sounds. I want to see more. Maybe we'll come by there when you're. And just do a whole hangar podcast.
Please.
Don't you find that listeners are always asking, like, how do you set up your garage? What's important? One thing we talk about is levels to sit and look over your cars. Like, you just have to be raised up maybe at least a foot.
Yes, you need like a mezzanine.
Adam does not sit down, ever.
He doesn't sit.
Unless he's podcasting, he's pretty much on the move.
You don't sit and smoke a cigar and look over all that you've acquired and wear your cape.
In 7 years, I've never seen that.
And say, look what I've done.
Yes, I say, I'm the king of all I survey. And I put
that I have heard.
No, I do sit in the other shop. See, there's one potential day that I sit, and that's the day Nate's not at the shop, which is Sunday to watch football with Kimmel and Cousin Sal and all that. Yeah,
that's nice.
So I'm
banned from that.
He's banned
Why
from
are
that.
you banned?
I'm just kidding. He's not one of the cool kids.
Yeah,
you're not.
So we just sit there.
You're the showbiz guy, right? You're the guy who's supposed to be part of all of this.
I'm more of the nerdy, sit in the edit bay, do the move, that kind of stuff.
Nate, I like Nate because he's not a show-busy guy. He's a Montana
He's very
guy.
show-busy, Adam. He presented himself as show-busy the moment he shook my hand this morning.
It's like, hey, man.
Wait, you're a writer? Wait, hold on. I've got a project for
That's
you.
exactly
what
I did say to him.
Into it, like a good producer should do.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
Well, he's got a motor. That's true. But he doesn't have the trappings of show business.
All right, let me get back to Shelby. Because here's another question I had for you. Did Mangold call you when they were making this movie and say, help us out? We don't want to take Ferrari's help. We definitely don't want to take Ford's help. They want to manipulate and shape this story. But you guys who've made these definitive documentaries, can you help us with some of this stuff?
Absolutely not.
No. Nobody ever calls.
What about the guys? What about Matt Damon and Christian Bale?
No.
Zero.
The most.
Do you know them well?
No, not. I know Matt A bit. I don't know Christian very well.
He was a little sleepy the morning we were interviewing him in the conference room. Yeah, they looked like they had just flown him across the world and set him up there, and he just looks like a guy who never stops.
Yeah,
it's interesting because we made the Newman documentary, and it was kind of a love letter to Paul Newman and his racing career, and it's called Winning the Racing Life of Paul Newman. I'm sure some of you have seen it, but. People say, like, oh, he has daughters and family and stuff. Like, what did they say? Or what was their reaction? And I go, I have no idea. I've never talked to any of them. They never contacted me. Now, I mean,
I've talked to Nell. She loved it.
You spoke to Nell.
Nell
I've never
and his
spoke
brother
to Nell.
Arthur's in it, and he loved it,
Arthur,
too.
Sorry. He has an older brother, believe it or not, Newman does, who lives in Palm Springs or 20, something.
Yeah, Palm Springs.
And he was in it, and he was very gracious. He has an older brother, but I've never spoke to any of the daughters about the film. But if I made a documentary about my dad, I don't think my sister would reach out to me. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't. Lauren wouldn't be. She probably wouldn't watch it.
Yeah. They lived with him. Why do they want to watch more about him, right?
I don't know, but my mom, I have a horrible mom, right?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
She's horrible. She's
really?
horrible.
Oh, wow.
She's the worst. And she said to me,
Is this Thanksgiving?
Yeah, over Thanksgiving. She goes, what are you working on, or what are you up to, or something like a sort of generic, how's it going? I said, well, I'm making a lot of car documentaries. We just basically sold 3 to Netflix, 2 days earlier. And I said, well, I'm working on car documentaries. And she said, well, when you make a documentary about something I'm interested in, tell me. I'd like to watch.
Oh, dear.
And I was like, boy, are you a horrible mom. Jesus Christ. And she was probably worse when I was 9.
Yeah. That's unbelievable. That
unbelievable.
is the opposite of good mom behavior.
How many times has your mom watched the Soup Nazi episode and told you how
My
great it was?
mom said, I have a series coming out on Disney Plus in the spring. She said, I'm already signed up for Disney Plus. I can't wait. I go, Mom, I'm not in it. It's just my production company. Because, nope, I've already signed up.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Adam's mom would never.
Yeah. And I
never happened.
She hates cars.
I still hated that. I was just like, just stop watching my crap. I don't care.
I will say this about both my parents. I've offered the $10,000 challenge, which is if you go to my dad's house,
right?
I'm involved with or have probably multiple box sets. There's a Man Show box set. There's a Crank Yankers box set. There's probably a Drawn Together box set, which is a voice thing I did. I'm in box sets. I have 4 books out. There's tons of. I'm working on my fifth book. But either way, if you walk into my dad's house and you can walk out with a Man Show mug or a box set or a DVD of a Shelby doc or a Blu-ray of I don't know, the 24-Hour War or The Hammer or Road Hard or anything I've ever done. If you a Man Show T-shirt, if you can walk out with one piece of material of the potential hundreds of things, T-shirts, mugs, box sets, memorabilia, whatever, I will pay you $10,000. That is how confident
you just
I am.
Sparked a whole set of cat burglars who are going to now go search.
There's nothing in there.
So mom and dad, they don't live together?
No.
They're divorced.
They don't agree on anything other than they don't have an interest in their kids. That's the only thing they've united on.
Does that really bother you at all? I mean, you strike me as the type of guy I didn't care if my parents came to my basketball games or anything. I was just like, don't worry about it. I don't like it here. I don't need you there.
I find it amusing in a bizarre way that you won't watch. You have a son that makes documentaries, but you won't watch. And by the way, they like documentaries.
Do you want her to call you and ask you these questions about Carroll Shelby? Really?
No.
What does she want you to make?
By the way, she thinks Carroll Shelby is a female comedian from the 60s.
Yes, exactly. Why does she have a lady's name? What?
She's the one who tugged on her ear at the end of the show.
What would she want you to make? What would get her like?
Oh no! I realized like after like being on the New York Times bestseller list and speaking in front of Congress and stuff. I realize it's nothing. I realize. I used to
like a socialist documentary on Sweden.
Like yeah, no. See, I thought, like, when I was a kid, I was all about playing football. And I was like, all right, my mom doesn't like football. Right. Okay, I get it. She doesn't like football. And then later on, I was all about cars and construction and building and wrenching and stuff. And I was like, okay, she doesn't like cars and she wants to, my parents want to sit home and read a book. They don't want to go to the garage and wrench, And they don't like football and they don't want to box. They don't like boxing. And so I figured out, probably conveniently, like, okay, it's not about you. It's just you happen to like cars and boxing and football and turning wrenches and building, all stuff they don't like. But if you did do something they did like, then they'd be all in. Later on, after I started writing books and making documentaries, I realized it wasn't the subject. Wow. They were just out.
Wow. What about the kids? Do they like the kids?
My kids, I don't.
He hesitates.
They're kind of lukewarm on them, or
because I remember there were only two things that caught my parents' attention. Because my parents are the same way. There's nothing I could do right. It couldn't please them. Now my mom's a little different now that my dad's gone. But the first time they paid attention to me was when I got on television hosting my late night show, which you were on, nice enough to come on. When I came across this thing that they stared at my whole childhood, this television. When I was on it, they would give me a little bit of attention. And then the second was the kids. Here, hand me those kids. But that's pretty much it at this point.
Well, I don't know. Maybe my mom would like your kids. I should try that out. Can you drop your kids off? See if I can get her motivated?
No. Hey, as we head into that back half of the NFL season, getting close to the Super Bowl, it's always a bittersweet moment. So much great football is behind us, but the good news is there is even better football on the horizon. NFL playoffs, college football playoffs, the Patriots winning the Super Bowl. If you're looking to add some excitement, then you want to use MakeBetDSI, your betting partner using BetDSI's live betting platform. You can watch all the events and even bet all the games till the final whistle. BetDSI has a very user-friendly interface and mobile site. BetDSI has the fastest payouts in the industry. Simply play, win, and get paid. New members get a 100% bonus match using promo code SPIKE101. That's double your money to start winning today. Once again, go to BetDSI.com and use promo code SPIKE101.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
Have you seen my newest Porsche?
No. Well, I drove my GT2 RS
I saw that.
in honor of your 935, which I consider to be the modern 935.
There's a new Newman Porsche in the collection.
Really?
I took some pictures of it the other day. Matt, you might have to...
We spoke about this, I think, in Monterey.
My phone.
Yeah.
Have I showed you any pictures of that car?
You have not, no.
Matt, in my phone... along next to the pictures of thresholds I've milled. And I also take pictures of my dog sleeping because I like inaction. There's some pictures
of
naked
selfies.
New Porsche that's white, and I took a few good pictures of that.
The official racing color.
Beverly. It's the Beverly Hills Porsche Audi.
No way.
Is that the Freeman Porsche?
Yeah. It's really funky 70s. Newman drove it at Sebring in 77 with Bill Freeman, who's a guy, was kind of a West Coast guy out here, and he'd come out here and he'd bring the car out to Willow Springs and drive it around a little bit. The car itself ended up running at like Sebring like 5 times and like Daytona 24 hours 5 times. It didn't really do well at all pretty much ever, but it has tons of mileage on it, like race miles on it. And again, Newman drove it and finished at Sebring in it, so it's kind of it's sort of a Newman car. It's got Newman's name on it.
Yeah.
It's back in the original livery.
And what's the plan? What are we doing with this?
Well, I've been told by numerous Porsche aficionados. I was just talking to Bruce Kenepa the other day about it, or tangentially about it.
Let's get rid of that word.
Let's get rid of that word. I was actually talking to him about an RSR, like a 74 race trim RSR that he has for sale, $2.4 million if you got that in the ashtray. But I was talking about that car. I was talking about a Nissan GTP car, which he just got as well. I was also speaking to famous Porsche driver Patrick Long.
Yes.
All-around good guy. And I talked to, you got it on your computer. You're looking at it.
Wow.
Don't worry about it, Matt. Sorry.
It's lovely.
Spike has it on his computer. Now, so I talked to both of them. And I first talked to Patrick Long, and he's like, "Oh, you got to drive that Porsche Newman Sebring 77. It's not an RSR, but it's done up like an RSR." He said, "Oh, you're going to love that car. You're going to love that car." And I was like, "I am?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, so much better than the 935. Like, so much easier. Just so much better." And I was like, "Oh, okay," because I have been racing with guys driving those cars, and they're just driving the shit out of them, and they're fast, and they're having a good time out there. And then I talked to Bruce Canepa, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, the RSRs are super expensive because everyone loves driving them. Like, they're so much more balanced. It's so much easier than the 935. And I was like, "Oh, all right, well, maybe I'll bring that RSR, for lack of a better term. It's really a 74 911 street car that got converted into a race car very early on in life.
Just like an RSR, though.
But everyone keeps telling me, all the super fast Porsche guys are like, "Oh, so much more balanced, so much easier to drive, so much fun." I was like,
can
okay.
I jump on that bandwagon? You're not going to disagree with them. Because I've driven the IROC 74 RSR. It's an incredibly... It's probably my favorite 911, probably my favorite race car, period. Just the simplicity of it and the balance of it.
Was that Jerry's?
Yeah, the yellow... I've driven a couple RSRs, and they're always just, what you can feel in a 73 RS, that simplicity and that connection to the steering and the ease of use is even better and lighter and nicer. I don't know how to describe it. I've driven it on the street. I've driven it on the racetrack. I feel like I'm my most competent race car driver in that car.
Oh, well, see, now a third Porsche voice has come to fore.
So if it drives like that, here, I'm looking at pictures of it here.
The sad,
but
can I tell you a sad RSR IROC story?
Yeah.
Because I know Jerry sold his a couple of years ago for like $2.3 million.
2.3 mil.
Okay.
It was a mistake. I tried to stop it in the week prior. There was nightly phone calls.
There was one for sale at, I think, RM or Gooding.
The green one?
Monterey. No, it was blue or yellow or something. I can't remember. Anyway, there was one for sale 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. And I was looking at it, and I said to Bruce Canepa, expert Porsche, I said, "I like that car. I think that's a cool piece. Like, it's an IROC."
Right.
And it's like, I think the price is right, and I may think about bidding on that car. And he's like, "Don't bother." And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because you can't race it anywhere. It's like, it's not, you can't really run it in the run group I'm running in. You'll just get your doors blown off. Like, It's not really, you can't, you're running with a bunch of 935s and decon Monzas and big block Vets and stuff. Like, you can't run that car." So he's sort of like, he was telling me, there's nothing you can do with it. And I was like, okay. And then Jerry sold his, and I was like, "Oh, I think there's something I could have done with it. I could have made $1.5 million because I could have bought it for $750."
Yeah,
the time.
I got to tell you, he's completely wrong. First of all, you can put a license plate on it, and you can drive
but that's not in his mind. His mind is like, what race?
One of my favorite drives is with Jerry in that car, the very first drive with the straight pipes on it, and we were on the PCH in front of Will Rogers going, "This is the most illegal thing either of us have ever had on the street and driven." It was so much fun. And then on the track, again, the feeling. I mean, yes, you might not win in that car, but when you're on a track just doing laps, I've never been happier.
Well,
what a car. What a mistake you've made.
I know. His argument really wasn't you're not allowed to drive it. It's like, what's it eligible for? Like, what are we going to do?
His argument
what
was,
event is it in?
I'm going to bid on it, and I don't want to be bidding against you. So this car is to make up for that car, is what you're saying.
Yes, it is.
And so when you say it's got a 3-liter race prepped 360 horsepower engine.
Yeah.
It's got to be what, 2,500 pounds?
It could be less. 2,500 pounds. Yeah, it'll be light. Yes.
Paul Newman history here. God, it's beautiful. And does it have a title? Could you put you don't do this, but could you put a license plate on it? I find this to be one of the greatest parts of being a car person is the license plate on the race car and then doing dumb shit and going to the supermarket or picking up a kid at preschool in a race car is the most fun.
You know, there is a Porsche that I am looking at that you could say that for, sort of.
A 917?
I think.
A 908?
No, a 911 Club, whatever. It's a race car, but it does have like lights and brake lights and maybe a turn indicator or something. And yes, one probably could drive that one around. There's also another kind of an interesting piece, speaking of Ford v. Ferrari, the replica Ford GT40 is coming up for sale. That was like the hero car from that movie. That's
Superformance made it, right?
Superformance with a big block Roush in it with fuel injection, and that car works. I mean, that car's got lights and turn indicators and whatever. And one could get into that car, the replica of Ken Miles' Le Mans 66 car, and drive that car on the street.
Who is selling that? Is that coming up at auction?
Yeah, I think it's coming up at Mecum and Kissimmee.
Yeah, everybody bought all those cars right off. Like, they used them in the movie, and then I know tons of guys. I know Aaron Shelby bought one. I know a bunch of guys who bought all the cars they used, in the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, that car is coming up, so that would be a cool piece.
Do you like those cars? Would you ever get a GT40?
I've always thought that the actual GT40s were way undervalued. And not so much after this movie, but back in the day, 10 years ago, you'd go, well, how much is a Ferrari GTO? And it'd be like 10 years ago, I don't know, 40, 50 million bucks, 30, 40, 50 million bucks. And then you go, how much is a Ford GT or GT40 with history? And guy'd go 6 million, 8 million, something like that. And I'd go, seems like the GT40 should be higher up.
Right.
And I felt the same way about the Daytona Cobras. Like, they're like $5 million, $6 million. But I'm like, why aren't those $15 million or $20 million? And I've always felt that the GT40s were just totally undervalued. Undervalued as much as a $5 million car or $7 million car. But the Ferraris that they were beating or that they ran with, like the P3 or the P4, that would have to be $65 million. So the car that beat the $65 million car is $7 million. And I was like, somebody's got to narrow that gap a little bit. And I did not buy any GT40s, but I always sort of looked at them going, that's a pretty historic car.
Yeah.
And it was Ford powered with like an iron block and push rods. And I think that was kind of the issue. But now I think people realize that it still hasn't caught those Ferraris, but it's gone from, the Ferrari's 50 and this thing's 11, and now the Ferrari's 50 and this thing's 25 or 30. Depending on the history, of course.
So what do you think? Are you going to get it?
The kit car?
Yeah.
I think it would be a cool I think it would be a cool
I think it would be
thing.
great.
It'd be super cool.
After watching the movie, I wanted them to. I want a Cobra. I want the whole deal. I think the replicas are really cool. I mean, it's not my thing, so I don't think I'd feel bad about driving a replica. Have you driven any of the Superformance Cobras?
I may have. I think I drove a Daytona that was a Superformance. I think Superformance makes Daytonas because I talked to Brock.
Yeah,
an interesting conversation with Pete Brock about the Daytona, which is like, he's like, the Superformance Daytona. I've stood next to a Daytona with him, and he was like, back in the day, we didn't have the time to do this curve at the bottom on the rocker panels. Like, I didn't get to finish it the way I wanted to finish it. And I guess as a designer, that's got to plague you. Like, you got 6 weeks to get this thing ready for Daytona or whatever. And you just don't have enough time to really finish it the way you want to finish it. But he said with the kit car, tribute car, I guess we'll call it,
all of those words.
Well, it's like cover bands. Like, they don't like being called covered bands, We're,
Continuation.
Yeah, we're an Air Supply continuation band. We don't cover Air Supply songs.
Right.
So
I'm not taking drugs.
So
I'm microdosing. It's a completely different thing.
He finished the car, the tribute car, the way he wanted.
Tribute.
Yeah, Pete did another one in Germany as well. I think he did like a ground up build also of a new G.
I don't know if you're on Pete Brock's email.
He has an email?
I am. Yeah.
I am on nobody's emails. But what is that?
When you see Pete Brock's emails,
you want to get on that.
You get one. You get one of. There's one of two. There is there's the one that you like, which is they paid a tribute to the Daytona, to the Cobra at Le Mans. He sends you a picture of like three of them parked on Le Mans.
Or the Day Tommaso or something else.
Yeah, the Day Tommaso. And then the other one is Hillary Clinton is responsible for sinking the Lusitania. Yeah. And then he sends you some dark web thing about how when Hillary Clinton was 9, she sunk the Lusitania.
She did. I've read through some of those where I'm like,
wow.
Man.
It's the best.
I want to be on
by the way, you want to talk about range, man.
He's all over the place.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And I love Pete, but yeah, some of those are dark.
And what is the purpose of the email? Is it to sell cars or just...
I don't think so.
No, it's not.
I just think you need to know who sunk the Lusitania, and Pete knows.
Yeah.
Or who's responsible.
Exactly.
She didn't actually
figured that out.
Send the torpedo into it, but she was behind it.
She facilitated it from her bedroom.
I wonder if the owners and drivers of these cars think about those emails when they're at speed going, God, the guy who engineered this also sent me that email.
Great deep cut dark web. He's basically...
I doubt he's on the dark web.
Well, there's information there.
I don't even think, if you said dark web to him, he's not going to even know what that is. It just sounds like he's on Breitbart or something.
He's the car guy version of Ed Asner who thinks the Twin Towers were taken down by the CIA.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I love those guys.
I've heard that.
It's the best.
Yeah.
By the way, especially in light of recent events.
Yes.
Do you think the FBI and the CIA could wire both buildings and nobody would know about it? I mean, only Ed Asner would know about it?
Well, how do you keep you know the old saying, how do you keep a secret between three people? You have to kill two of them.
Right.
It's impossible.
Yeah. It's impossible.
It's impossible to keep anything a secret if you tell anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
right.
Well, I'm glad we fixed that. We've got only a couple minutes left, gentlemen. I want you all to watch this documentary they've made, Shelby American. Did I get that right?
Yes.
I always lose it in my
Shelby American, the Carroll Shelby story.
And
it's right on the front page of Netflix there.
Can I jump in here, Spike, and tell people, because Nate's... he's no Carroll Shelby, so I'll speak.
Yes.
He's not a salesman. He's an artist.
I like him.
Yeah. He makes things, but he doesn't
He's making
sell
deals.
People need to go to Chassis, CHASSY, and get the Blu-ray of this thing, because we have extras on that footage never seen before.
Yes,
we were able to procure some really cool footage, home movies and home movie races and things like that nobody's ever seen.
I noticed
before.
All those races from the 50s, we found 9 reels of 16 millimeter film that we developed that no one had ever seen before. That's in the movie, but then we made these.
So wait, what do you mean they were
Blu-ray extras?
Undeveloped?
They were in a woman's closet, and we took them, developed them, digitized them.
How many decades old are we
they're
talking?
from the 50s,
and they're undeveloped and they're fine.
Yes,
and so
beautiful.
Who do you bring? Is
He asked you for a decade count, Nate. You answer the man.
Sorry,
almost 7.
7.
Almost 7.
And where do you take that to be developed?
Photocam, and anywhere that does film.
And they go, okay, yeah, we'll give it to you in a week.
Yeah.
There's no
3 days.
No degradation.
It looks beautiful. Like, we put 3-minute clips of probably 3 or 4 races. It looks gorgeous.
Where
Once you
were
color
they? Like
correct
Torrey
it,
Pines or Palm
I think there was
Springs?
Riverside. Yeah, I'd have to look through them all. But most of them are Southern California. A friend of mine had known, once we start doing these docs and the word gets out in the car community, every one of our docs have had footage no one's ever seen and photos no one's ever seen. We didn't even know that the Shelby family kept. Apparently, Carol's mom was a crazy scrapbooker. So they had
Not to be confused with Chris Carolla, who's never heard of crank anchors.
They had scrapbooks that were like 3 feet tall by 2 feet wide.
No way.
And probably 30 of them that literally had every pit pass that says pilot from every race he's ever raced in, every plane ticket he ever had. Like there's a check in the documentary for a race he won for $14. I put it in there. I was like,
I know, it's amazing.
I was like, $14.
Yeah.
Like,
was that Elkhart Lake?
Yes, you're right.
It's crazy. It's like literally, I was literally had to pause it on there and go, he got paid $14 to win. I don't know if he won. He may have came in third.
No, it was a winning check.
$14 was the winning check.
Yep.
You know it was the winning check.
Because I filmed it, yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Would you, were there any overalls?
You know, that would have been cool if there was a pair of overalls. I'm surprised.
Have you thought about selling overalls?
I would guarantee they have them somewhere based on these scrapbooks because they had every magazine article, every newspaper
Did you ever meet Carroll before he died?
Yes, I did. I briefly, I went to an event at the Peterson Museum. I think at the end, I think there's a picture, too, of him like on the roof of the Peterson surrounded by all the Shelby Club guys bringing the cars and the new Shelbys and blah, blah, blah. That's probably from the event I went to. He was probably kind of old, getting near the end. Yeah. And that would have been, I don't know, 15 years ago or something, or 12 years ago or something like that. But yes, I went to the thing and he was just, doing his thing, holding court, signing glove box lids, that's this whole thing, just signing like Pete Rose signs baseballs. And, just introduced myself or said hi to him or something.
And he gets that 34-year-old guy's heart.
Yeah, who was a gambler.
Rebooted.
Yeah, and then he's ready to go again.
He was a gambler. What happened to the kid?
The 34-year-old guy has I think it was a stroke or heart attack. Just drops dead, and Carroll gets it. And the guy had 9 lives. I mean,
he really
in
did.
1960, they were like, you got 5 years to live.
Yeah.
Guy lived to 2012. Longest double transplant recipient in history still.
Wow.
Longest living double heart transplant recipient.
The young guy died of a stroke.
Yeah,
because we die of a heart attack, then we don't really.
That's true.
I blew up my engine. All right, well, we can use it and put it in the next car. Like, well, no.
Well, maybe blows an artery.
He kind of looks like you, Adam. There are shots in the 60s and 70s where he's standing there. I went, that kind of looks like Adam. You change the glasses out, right?
Adam looks a lot like Carroll Shelby.
I had a lot of people. Yeah, that's why I used to get laid a lot in high school. Like all the girls were like, "Hey, you look like Shelby." A lot of people have been tweeting me that. So
you do. Grew your hair out a little bit. Yeah.
I'll take it.
I know we have to go. We have to go because you have a million. How many podcasts are you going to record today? What's a day like for Adam Carolla here?
3. I don't know. I have to talk to Matt.
I think yesterday was your brutal
And you do these
yesterday
5 days
like
a week?
6.
You do 3 different shows every day? Or you do that 7 days a week?
I do my show every day. I do me and Dr. Drew every day. And then I do Ace on the House, Home Improvement. I do CarCast. I do Take a Knee, which is sort of a motivational one. I do Reasonable Doubt with Mark Garrigus. Am I missing any? Can't think of anything else.
And the RSR money just flows in.
I get to be a guest on other people's pods as well.
It's amazing. Wow. He's the only guy on Podcast One making money. Good for him. Anyway, Adam Carolla. And Nate, thank you guys. Thanks for having me over here. It's always a thrill. Obviously, my show is your show. Adam is the king of Podcast One. It's a pleasure having him on.
Thanks.
Real honor. It's a thrill.
We love
to be in the same room.
We
with
love talking cars with Spike.
And you really don't know how many times Shelby was married in this documentary. You couldn't figure it out.
They don't know. His kids don't know.
They said between 7 and 10.
Yeah, even his own kids. Because sometimes he would get married and he would have his friends pretend to be the justice of the peace.
Wow. Shelby American. You can stream it right now on Netflix. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week on Spike's Car Radio.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio. Download new episodes every Wednesday on the Podcast One app or subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or PodcastOne.com.
Well, we're deep into this year's NFL season. Everybody wants to know who will be coming out on top. Am I right? Well, then you need to check out one podcast that will get you everything you need to know about the biggest NFL games. And now it's on the postseason. I'm talking about the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Ross played 7 years in the NFL before retiring, so you know he's got the insider knowledge you crave. Be sure to check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast every week on Podcast One, Apple Podcasts, and many of your favorite podcast listening apps.